So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Here we'll keep back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Thursday, July 9th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. I know there's a ton of news out right now in the NFL and college football. Two breaking stories in the NFL, two breaking stories in the NFL and one breaking story in college football. You know how it is. I do 3 topics a day, so I'm going to try to really boom through these topics. As the last topic is Ivy League cancels their football season, but like I said, I want to really spend time on that, so I want to try to get through these topics quickly and make sure that we can, get all these other topics in. So today we got Raheem Mostert in the 49ers. He requests a trade from the 49ers. You might not know who he is, but he's a pretty big name down with San Francisco after what he did in the playoffs with the Niners. Now he wants the money. Now he requests a trade. I'll give you my standpoint on that in a little bit, or in just a couple of minutes as it's the first topic up. Next up, we have NFL opt-out. The NFL says the players have the choice to opt out if they don't feel comfortable playing. So it could almost turn into an NBA season and an MLB season where players are opting out. NBA, there's a lot more players opting out than the MLB. There's also a lot more cases. The MLB, and don't get concerned over this, people. I know, 66 cases is a lot, but the MLB, the other day, they test their cases twice a week. So they got all their testing back. There were 66 positive cases in the MLB out of 740 personnel tested. Okay, so I actually crunched the numbers on that. That's almost less than one person a team. It's not even one person a team really. I know 66 might be like, oh yeah, it is, but if you didn't, I was talking to somebody and they kind of said that's not even really like one person per team, so don't be concerned. I know some teams don't even have a case. I don't think some teams don't even have a case, which is good. It's gonna happen, people. It's gonna happen. So you're gonna have to just deal with it. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be expected to have cases. You're not gonna be able to run a season and not have cases. That's how this thing has been spreading, is because when people are near each other and all that, that's why the particles and everything like that. It's gonna happen. Somebody in the league is gonna get it, whether it's one person or 66 people. Somebody's gonna get it. Then we have the Ivy League or NFL opt-out. I gave the choice to opt out. Then I got into the MLB thing. So they're giving the choice to opt out of the season. I don't agree. I'll talk about it in a little bit. Ivy League canceled their college football season. Ivy League says all fall sports are canceled, and they will reevaluate it January 1st, which will be the first day of 2021. So you could just say they'll reevaluate in the new year. This is big for Ivy League football. This is a big, I think, risk for them, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But anyway, that's what I got. Some breaking news too. Kawhi Leonard did not travel with the Los Angeles Clippers to Disney with them. So that is some breaking news. I'm not going to talk about today. I'll definitely talk about tomorrow. If it, they say it's delayed, but some say that he might not even show up. So if he doesn't show up, I'll definitely talk about it. But I had so much breaking news here that I'm like, no, I can't wait. This is just one news that's still breaking. It's still in the process of, really just exploding out. So I was like, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to talk about the Ivy League, and stuff like that. So anyway, so this is the BSN Network podcast today. So let's get right into it. So Raheem Mostert of the San Francisco 49ers. You may know him, you may not. Many probably don't, because he's not a huge name. He's not your household name in the NFL, although he has been a pretty household name in the playoffs. I'll say that for sure. I'll tell you that. That's all I'm going to say. I could tell you that. He's been a household name in the playoffs. Okay. Raheem Mostert, if you don't know who he is, he's the running back for the San Francisco 49ers. He is one of 3 running backs that was on that team last year. It was 3 of the main running backs. Tevin Coleman, Matt Breida, then obviously Mostert himself. Matt Breida got traded. He went over to Miami. Tevin Coleman's still here, but he's been a little, Tevin Coleman, everybody, they didn't really utilize him much last year, so he's been back over, he's still with the Niners. He's just, not really being used that much. So Raheem Mostert, if you all don't know him, most people probably watch the NFC Championship game, but he had the biggest game of his career in the NFC Championship game. In the NFC Championship game, the best game of his career was in the NFC Championship game. Okay, he had I think 4 touchdowns, 200-something yards. It was unreal. It was unreal what he did, and he carried them through that playoff. He carried them. He beat them. He really helped them out in that NFC Championship game. He wasn't, really a big factor in the Vikings game. He wasn't really a big factor in the Kansas City Super Bowl loss. He was a huge factor in the Green Bay 37-20 win. Okay, he had 29 attempts, 220 yards, 7.6 was his average, 4 touchdowns, 36 was his long. Okay, that game. That is when Raheem Mostert grew a name for himself. It was in that game, because you want to know why, people? And I've always said this. I'm going to keep saying it until it doesn't happen, really. I'm going to keep saying it. You know how if you have a fail in sports, you have the butt fumble, you have the whole J.R. Smith play with LeBron, you have all that. In big moments, big games, right? For example, the Mark Sanchez play, right? He was in a big moment in a big game, or not really a big game, but it was a Thanksgiving Day game. They were getting crushed anyway, so it wasn't really a big moment. But it was with the New York media. It was against their rivals, New England Patriots, near the Big Apple. Obviously, their stadium's in New Jersey, but near the Big Apple, MetLife Stadium, their home, Thanksgiving primetime game, late night game. Everybody's done eating. Everybody's kind of just gathering around the TV, so the ratings must have been even higher than some of the day games, because sometimes, people turn on the day games on Thanksgiving and, they're eating while that happens. But, all that, right? So, you got all that stuff going on. You got, everybody's kind of done with dinner. They're all full. They're kind of sitting around the TV like, you know what? Let's watch some football. And it had to happen. That game was the same game the butt fumble happened. I am telling you, if it happened randomly on a random Week 5 game down in, let's just say, Cleveland, and they were playing the Cleveland Browns, and he ran into a butt fumble, it would have blown up, but it wouldn't have been nothing like for years. They wouldn't be making T-shirts out of it. It wouldn't be a crazy meme. They would literally just be like, oh, he had a butt fumble. It's the same thing with that J.R. Smith thing. It was the biggest game. It was game 1 of the NBA Finals against the Warriors. It was Cavs. It was LeBron. It was, in California, which you all know, the celebrity area, Hollywood, all that, but, Golden State isn't really near there that much. You have all that. You have the whole, Stephen Curry versus LeBron, J.R. Smith's in there, all that good stuff at Oracle Arena in California. Primetime game, primetime TV. Everybody's watching it. Biggest series of the season is the NBA Finals. Happened to show that J.R. Smith messed up, and it blew up. Same thing with the whole Raheem Mostert thing. Okay, it was a big game, NFC Championship game, prime time. Whoever wins this goes to the championship. The Chiefs versus the Titans was just over, so this was the only game remaining. It wasn't like people were waiting. I'm sure some Chiefs fans even watched this game. It wasn't like some people were just waiting, maybe eating and stuff before the game. Some fans might do that, Like, let's just say this was the first game on. This was the second game on. It was a primetime game on Fox, all that good stuff. Okay, it was Rodgers versus Garoppolo, right? It was LaFleur versus Shanahan. It was all that stuff. Once again, it was in California. Green Bay was, a known franchise. Aaron Rodgers, McCarthy came through there. Favre came through there. Lambeau Field, obviously. Vince Lombardi went through there. It's, it's a known franchise. Same with the Niners, on the other hand. Not really. They're in California, so they're in San Francisco. So, California, if you have a team in California, it's going to be pretty known because California's a big state. A lot of people. And it's just really what it is. Like, and anyway, so Raheem Mostert, that big game, it was that big game, it was in that game, the NFC Championship game, he had 29 attempts, he had 220 rushing yards, he had 7.6 average, he had 4 touchdowns, and he had 36 was long. He doesn't have it in that game. Raheem Mostert is really nothing. Really not much. Really not much. You want to hear his stats the rest of the season, people? 10 attempts, 57 yards. 11 attempts, 53 yards. 14 attempts, 54 yards. 10 attempts, 69 yards. 19 attempts, 146 yards. 6 attempts, 45 yards. 6 attempts to 13 yards, 6 attempts, 28 yards, 1 attempt, negative 2 yards, 9 attempts, 60 yards, 4 attempts, 13 yards, 7 attempts, 34 yards, 12 attempts, 79 yards, 13 attempts, 83 yards, 9 attempts, 40 yards. Okay, so as you can clearly see, clearly see, Raheem Mostert, he did not have a fabulous season. He only had 772 yards. It was not until that big game, and I'm not taking it away from him. I'm not taking it away from the guy. He had a phenomenal game. I mean, I remember sitting there watching. I was actually kind of standing. I don't tell you what. I don't usually sit. I don't usually stand during football games. That and in the ninth inning of baseball games, I'm usually standing. I don't sit very rarely do I sit in football games, especially if it's the Jets. I just can't sit. I don't know why. I can't sit still. The only time I'm sitting is if it's the fourth quarter and we're losing by like 30. I'm like, oh, we got no shot. Then I just sit there and suffer on the couch. I just sit there and just suffer. Just suffer from just watching your team just not know what they're doing. So I was probably standing, but I remember I was there watching the game. I was like, wow. This kid's insane. He's insane. And I remember going into that Super Bowl. I remember saying to one person, I actually have to admit, I did say this. The Chiefs don't have a great defense. If they can't stop Raheem Mostert like he played like he did against the Packers in this game, the 49ers may run away with this thing. Because you saw what they did in the Packers, and the Packers have one of the better defenses in the league, and they might even have a better defense than the Chiefs. But the Chiefs was able to shut down Raheem Mostert because what happened is they relied so much on that run game, that Packers game. They relied so much on it. Because you want to know why? I bet you what they did is they were like, you know what? They're going to think we're going to throw the ball a lot, so they'll just pound it. Because the game before that, he only had 12 attempts for 58 yards. And that was against Minnesota. Okay? That Green Bay game, he had 29 attempts. Almost 30. That's 17 more attempts than the game before. It might not seem like a lot, but it's a lot. That's almost a whole game's worth of attempts. There's a couple games he didn't even hit 17. 10, 11, 14, 10. Okay, they're 19. 6, 6, 6. 1, 9, 4, 7, 12, 13, 9. Like, am I not? I don't know. And like I said, I don't know how much money he exactly wants. But this is another thing. Let's look at the numbers last season. Attempts, 137. Total, or he was tied for 31st in the league. Yards, 772. That was 25th in the league. Touchdowns, 8. That was tied 9th. Average, 5.6. That was 2nd in the league. I will admit, some of these games, his average is actually not that bad. 5.7, 4.8, 3.9, 6.9, 7.7, 7.5, 2.2, 2.2, 4.7, negative 2.0. 6.7, 3.3, 4.9, 6.6, 6.4, 4.4. His average this season, like I said, was 5.6. And he only had 8 touchdowns. And you want to know when he started getting those touchdowns? Was week 6. That's when he started getting those touchdowns. It was week 6. Or it was actually week 7. Because they had a bye week. And then he started to get those touchdowns. Then he had 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. Finished with 8 touchdowns. So like I said, I'm going to read an article in just a second. But this is how his career has been. Take out that Green Bay Packers game. This is really what his career's been. Okay. In 2015, he played with the Browns for 3 games. 2015, same season, he played with the Ravens for 7 games. Then again in 2015, he played with the Dolphins for 1 game. Then 2016, he went to the Niners, played with the Niners for 1 game. Then in 2016, he played with the Bears. He played with the Bears for 2 games. 2017, he went back to the Niners, played 11. 2018, he was still with the Niners, played 9. And ever since that, 2019, he played 16 games last year. Okay, this guy has been an absolute journeyman. I mean, he's only 28 years old, and he's already been bouncing around the league. He's already played on 5 teams. And he's only 28 years old. 5 teams in about 4 seasons is quite crazy. And like I said, you know, he played on what? He played on 3 teams in 1 season. 3 different teams in one season, including he played with the Dolphins for 1 game. Like, you sign a guy, he plays 1 game, and now all of a sudden he's on the Niners. Then in the same season, he goes to the Bears. Then next season, he's like, oh, I'm going to be back on the Niners. Then he's on the Niners again. Then he's on the Niners again. And you know how another thing here is, too. If he requests a trade here, which he did, like I said, requesting a trade is never the thing your franchise wants to go to. It is never the ideal situation, okay? He requested a trade, so now what's going to happen? Is he going to get magically picked up by another team, and are they going to use him as an everyday starter? Is he going to be, their... Whoops, sorry, I sneezed. Is he going to be their everyday guy? Is he going to be their everyday guy? What's going to be? Or is he going to be, after this season, is he going to be is he going to be like in 2015? Browns, Ravens, Dolphins. Then he went to the Niners in 2016. Then the Bears. Then to the Niners. He's with the Niners right now. If I was him, this is a smart decision. I would go ahead and say, you stay there. Stay with the Niners. Because you don't know what's going to happen. It happens way too often where players... It happens often where players have a couple good games. They think they're all the way up there. A team gives them a contract. They say, no, I'm going to go out and ask for more money. And then they go out and ask for more money. And then all of a sudden they're a free agent for the rest of their career. So if I was Raheem Mostert, I would not request a trade right now. I don't know how much money you got, but you would be the week 1 starter in San Francisco, and you know that. I would assume so. You would be the week 1 starter, unless if you lost it over Tevin Coleman. I would assume Tevin Coleman's going to be backup. But like I said this yesterday as well, or I said it to people yesterday. All right. I have another thing to say, okay? Raheem Mostert, this is his job to lose. His job to lose. And here's my thing with the 49ers. The 49ers do not have to rush this. They don't have to rush this. They actually shouldn't rush this. They shouldn't be like, oh, give him the money, scramble and give him the money. They don't have to rush this. Because here's my thing. You have a good other running back in Tevin Coleman. You do. You really do. I think he was one of the better backups in the league when he was with the Falcons. He never got a shot because he was with when Devontae Freeman was in his prime. Like I said, I really, really don't know what's going to happen with Raheem Mostert. If I was the Niners, I would sit there and wait. If I was the Niners, I would just wait. I would wait. I would sit there and wait if I was the Niners. See how this whole thing unfolds. See even if you play an NFL season. Because if you don't, okay, then we still got him. Right? These players can request trades all they want. They can request trades all they want. It's true. That's why sometimes requesting a trade isn't always the right thing. These players can request a trade all they want. All they want. I request a trade. They can request it all they want. The team doesn't have to do anything about it. And for a guy who has an attempts 137, tied 31st in the league, yards 772, that's 25th. He didn't even have a 1,000-yard season. Touchdowns 8, that tied 9th. Average 5.6, that's 2nd. That's the best stat he has. And could he keep that up? I'm not sure. Also teams are going to have film on him now. They're going to know what the 49ers are doing. In 2015, he played with 3 teams. The Browns, the Ravens, and Miami, including one team he played 1 game with. And now he's requesting a trade because he says contract talks are at a standstill. Like, I don't know. And like I said, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to say he's not a good running back. I think he's okay. I think 4 out of 10. Because what I saw last year in the NFC Championship game was unreal. I have not seen that performance out of a no-name player in a long time. I would probably, if you told me at the beginning of the year Raheem Mostert was going to go put up 20 yards and 4 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game, first off, I would have thought you crazy because I would have thought the 49ers wouldn't have made the championship game. I wouldn't have thought they would have come close. And second off, I probably wouldn't have been like, who the heck is Raheem Mostert? Like, who is him? Who is he? and now he wants the money. This happens a lot to players. They have a couple good games, a great game, and now now obviously he wants the money. Now he wants the money. So, it's going to be interesting. San Francisco 49ers running back, just go into this really quickly. 49ers running back Raheem Mostert requests trade. San Francisco 49ers running back Raheem Mostert has requested trade. Mostert's agent, Brett Tesler, made an announcement Wednesday afternoon after months of unproductive talks with the 49ers about fairly adjusting Raheem Mostert's contract, which paid him for special teams. We have requested a trade, Tesler wrote on Twitter. Mostert reportedly requested a pay increase after playing a significant role in 49ers' run to the Super Bowl last season. According to Tesler, those talks have not produced satisfactory results. Mostert's breakout from NFL obscurity. Mostert tailed 952 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns during regular season last year. These stats were his rushing stats, by the way. So if that's what you were wondering, I don't really do yards from scrimmage all that often. He didn't even hit 1,000 yards from scrimmage. He upped his performance in the postseason, totaling 344 yards from the scrimmage and 5 touchdowns over 3 playoff games against the 49ers. Fell short against the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Mostert contract situation. Mostert signed a 3-year, $8.7 million contract with the 49ers in 2019. He's scheduled to earn $3.15 million this season and $3.5 million in 2021. Prior to last season, Mostert had tallied just 297 rushing yards over the course of 4 NFL seasons and signed his contract after a 261-yard season in 2018. That saw him play in 9 games for the 49ers. A 28-year-old running back, Mostert likely sees now at the time to cash in on his performance. NFL's Network Ian Rappaport reports that he spoke with Tesler and that Mostert has requested his salary to be in line with the highest paid running back on the team. Tevin Coleman is scheduled to make $4.8 million this season. In addition to Coleman, the 49ers also have Jerick McKinnon on the running back depth chart. They traded Matt Breida to Miami Dolphins in April. I said it earlier today on the podcast. Okay, like I said, it just goes to show you they have a lot of depth, people. They have a lot of depth. So what is he trying to get, $5 million? They have a lot of depth. They really do. They have Jerick McKinnon. They have Tevin Coleman. The 49ers should not rush on this. They should wait this out and see, first off, what I'm going to talk about next, if the season even is being played. Second of all, if he's even worth the money. You should wait, and I know he's probably not going to play. He'll probably hold out. But I would love to see what he does now. Does he still perform the way he performed last season? Does he? I don't know. I really don't know. It's honestly up in the air. It is really up in the air. So, that's what I got for the Raheem Mostert part of this podcast. Comment down below. Comment down below. Like I said, I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm not trying to be mean. All I'm saying is that I just don't really believe, I know it's not that much money. I mean, it's a lot of money for a regular human being, $5 million. But what I'm saying is, compared to some of these big, high-paid running backs, it's really not that much. What I'm trying to say here is with Raheem Mostert is, for a guy that had a couple great games last year, actually one great game, a lot of good games, he's still, in my book, not a very, very good running back. He's okay to good. I would like to see if he can bounce back and play again good this year. That is really the true teller. You have one good season, and now all of a sudden you want more money? Slow down a little bit. So, it's really up in the air, and that's one of the big things here. It is really, really, really turning to be up in the air right now, and I'm not even sure, because my next topic actually leads right into this. I'm not even sure if there will be an NFL season. It looks like there will be, but just have to watch out. So anyway, my whole thing on the NFL opt-out, okay, so the NFL, Yahoo Sports, I already have it. Why is it telling me? Hold up. I have one quick thing. Negotiate opt-out clause. Okay, perfect. I have the app, and I was like, why is it telling me to install the app? I just had to open it. I was like, well, I have this app. I have the Yahoo Sports app. I don't know why it's telling me to uninstall or to install it. I was like, I have the app. But anyway, so the report, NFL union discusses broad COVID-19 opt-out clause for players. Opt-out. So the players have the choice, I guess, to opt out. And this is actually, I mean, technically any player has any choice. I mean, anybody has a choice to opt out of anything, technically. Technically, you could opt out of anything. I mean, not really. Actually, technically, not really. I don't know why I said that. I mean, like in sports. Like, players opt out. You know, players be like with this whole COVID-19 restart thing, they've said, oh, opting out. Some players have opted out in the NBA. I've seen a ton of them. I have not seen many in the MLB. There's been a couple. Ian Desmond, Ryan Zimmerman. There's been four, I think. As I know like 4 players. In the NBA, I know a lot more. Oladipo, almost the whole Nets team. Oladipo, Taurean Prince, Dinwiddie. Now Kawhi's not showing up. Kyrie, KD. Kyrie and KD wouldn't have played anyway, but they're not showing up is what I'm trying to say. The whole Nets roster has opted out because they all had it pretty much. I'll tell you, man, the Nets are in a rude awakening. They just got 2 new players. They got Jamal Crawford, and they're expected to sign another player, but he's just so, he's 40 years old. I just don't, come on. And that's just give it to, a fun team to watch, like the Atlanta Hawks, not the Nets, because the Nets are not going to stand a chance against any team. They're literally a G League team. But anyway, the NFL union discussing broad COVID-19 opt-out clause for players. So what this pretty much means is players, if they don't feel safe playing, they can opt out. And there's already been one player that made it public yesterday. Stephon Diggs, Bills wide receiver, came out and said, who I really like. I'm a big fan of Stephon Diggs. Actually, I really like Stephon Diggs. I think he's a very good receiver. I think he got a little underrated last year. I think, a lot of people, focus on Adam Thielen. I'm a big fan of I was about to say Adam Diggs. I'm a big fan of Stephon Diggs. But yeah, with Stephon Diggs, I'm a big fan of him. But he came out yesterday and saying that he felt, I think it was something like saying he felt safe was I would be lying to you if I said I felt safe playing football. Here's my whole thing with the whole football situation, okay? With everything going on in the world right now involving the virus, okay? It is much tougher. This is why you're seeing, I think, a lot more cases in the NBA and the NHL than you are in the MLB. Because those are physical sports. Those are very physical sports. The NBA, you cannot tell me that's not a physical sport. NHL is some of the more physical sports out there. The MLB, you don't see guys jumping up and down for rebounds. You don't see guys tackling each other. You don't see players pushing each other in the MLB. I mean, you do, but not often. You do see bench clearings, but I would imagine this year they're going to try to keep that to a minimal because that could easily have the season like, all right, we're doing good, to a bench clearing, a brawl, to be like, oh, here comes the cases, they're just rising up. It's almost like when you hit that thing at it's like a thing, I don't know what it's called. It's almost like if you hit that thing, you have the little mallet thingy, you have a little hitter, and you just hit it, and the little the lights just keep going up and up and up and up, and the higher, and if you try to get it up, then it shines and stuff, and you get you could get tickets and stuff. I think it's at an amusement area, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's quite called. But yeah, it's almost like that. If there was a bench brawl, bench clear, whatever you want to call it, in the MLB, it would be the cases are down here, we're all doing good, and all of a sudden it's like somebody hit that little thing, the little button, and the things just go up, and here come the cases, up, 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 because that's what's happening in these other leagues, is it's true. NBA, very physical. A lot of cases. Players opting out because they have it. Players opting out because they don't feel safe. You see some players in the MLB opting out because they don't feel safe. And that is, Mike Trout said, and I saw this yesterday. I was watching Yankees summer camp on Yes Network. I saw this yesterday. Clint Frazier had a mask on when he was there. He had a mask on. I totally get it. I understand. I don't know how you play with a mask on. It's got to be tough. It's got to get hot. It's got to get sweaty. But, obviously it's what keeps him safe. Same thing with Trout. He's been running around. He's been doing all of his workouts with a mask on. It is understandable. It is what this world has come to. It stinks. I know it's not the best thing in the world, but it's what it has come to, where people have to wear a mask. Believe me, I hate wearing a mask. I feel your pain. I don't like to wear a mask. I have to because, you could be technically saving people if you wear a mask. You're also helping out yourself. Although it is mainly to kind of I think, to really help out other people. Because, if you don't have a mask on and your particles go in the air, then all of a sudden other people can get that and it could get on your mask instead of keeping it all trapped into the mask. So anyway, that's my mask thing. But players, if you have to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask. Here's the problem with the NFL, okay? There are players lining up. Like I said, MLB and golf are the most socially distant sports out there, I would say, right? That are the sports that I actually got to admit, I was watching golf the other day. The PGA Tour, last weekend. It was very soothing. I could fall asleep watching golf. It was actually very soothing, though, because I was outside all day, and then it started really just downpouring, and I came back inside, and I was like, let me just watch some golf. I almost could fall asleep. I was literally, I was so caught up into the game, too. I learned a lot of new players. It wasn't that bad. I actually might watch golf again. And obviously when the NFL season comes back on, I won't watch golf probably. Or MLB season, my bad. Coming back on, I probably won't watch golf. I will be watching MLB. But golf's been pretty fun. And because it's a socially distant sport. Same thing with the MLB. Very socially distant. Except the batter, umpire, catcher. Except if you're holding a guy on at first base. You have the first baseman, then you have the guy who's on first base. That's the only real situation you're in. But that's why the MLB is doing so good. That's why the NBA and NHL are struggling a little bit. And that's why the NFL now has an opt-out thing. Because the players are not socially distant. The players are on top of each other. When you're lining up at the defensive line, your hand is right here and the other person's hand right here. And you're just it's just an absolute, and that's what makes football so entertaining, is their action every play. Baseball, on the other hand, you could have 5 foul balls in a row and people could be like, crickets. I don't find that about baseball. I just love the sport of baseball. I've always loved baseball since I was very young. I've love baseball. I play it. It's my main sport. I do play basketball. I used to play football. I played tackle football for 2 years, flag for 3. Baseball is my favorite sport I've ever played. Basketball is probably my second favorite. Football is I like football to watch. Football and baseball are my top 2 to watch. Honestly, I really like to watch football and baseball. Football has a lot of action. Baseball is kind of just a soothing sport to watch. And not in the playoffs, though. Playoffs, completely different story. I do the book for the Yankees. I do it at home or while I'm watching it. The game, I'll do the book for them. I do the book pretty much every game. I do the book. And I'll come on the show the next day and I'll read off the stats and stuff. But yeah, with the whole NFL thing. Now, there was some rumors flying around about the whole NFL possibly having, you know how they have the face shields? I used to have one. Visor. It's called a visor. It's not one of those hats. It's an actual, the clear thing. You probably know. You've probably seen it on a ton of players. You could get clear. You can get what they call smoke, which is a medium from clear to dark. And you can get an absolute dark visor. So it's you mainly see clear visors is what you mainly see. So you have a visor and you put it over your helmet. What they thought would be a decent idea is put the whole visor all on the helmet. So put it from up here to all the way down. So where their face mask is, it goes all the way down. So if you see that picture right here on the football, right there on the football. If you see that picture right there, the 2 helmets, the Jets and the Giants helmet, it would be like putting the visor all the way down to where the chin strap almost is. It would cover the whole face mask. because it would at least, possibly keep the stuff out. Now, stuff can come in from under, but at least it would keep maybe some of the particles that the other players are doing in your mask, and maybe it's like down to here, and it would keep it in your helmet. Another thing would be, is because actually football has done this, just wear like a balaclava, wear a mask thingy, because football, you see them wear them a lot. You do see them. You see players wear like sometimes a face covering, not because of it, but they do wear it because of the cold. If it's cold, you get games in December down in, you get games in December against the Packers and with Lambeau Field in Green Bay. It is a lot. It can definitely get a lot. It can get pretty cold, so players do wear that. But other than that, though, it's not horrible. It's really not that bad. Wearing something like that, although I know in the beginning of the season it might be pretty bad. It might get hot, but you could take it off and stuff on the sidelines. That is the problem, though. It's just all the tackling, being on top of each other. That is the problem. It's a huge problem. It's very bad. It's not a thing you really want to see happen. So anyway, this is the NFL players opting out. So the NFL and the NFLPA are negotiating a COVID-19 opt-out clause for players for the planned upcoming season. NFL Network's Tom Persillo reports. Now, I'll tell you what, the NFL, they seem like they were cruising. They seem like, no matter who says what, no matter what happens, we're cruising right into the season. Now, all of a sudden, they're having an opt-out clause. Now, all of a sudden, you might see players opting out. Now, all of a sudden, I don't think there's not going to be an NFL season. I don't think they'll let that happen. But now, all of a sudden, they're letting players opt out. You might see some of the big stars opt out, and now, all of a sudden, the ratings, right down. The ratings, ratings for this game, right? Ratings might just go all the way down. According to the report, both sides are in agreement that players will be permitted to opt out of 2020 season for the broad set of the reasons, including general concerns about players playing during the pandemic. I understand that, right? Players say they are a little afraid. Even the MLB, they either have a brand new kid at home, they have somebody in their family that has a health concern, which is what they really notice is it really hurts the people that have ongoing health conditions, whether it's whatever. It could be anything. It could be literally anything in your body that you have. It could be any health concern you have. They notice if you get the virus, you're highly likely it could be worse for you, and it could get very bad. It could become deadly. That's when it usually becomes deadly, is if people have health concerns and their immune system is just not that strong. That's when it could be bad. So it's understood. Some players might be scared just because they're just worried. Some players might be worried, like Ryan Zimmerman. In Ryan Zimmerman's case, his mom has multiple sclerosis, which is where your muscles, I think, kind of stop working. They get weak. So that could be bad. If she were to catch it, that could be really bad. Players, either their families or things like that. It's anything. It could be anything. It could be any reason. Or they could just be straight up worried that they're going to get it and they just don't want to pass it on to other people. They could just be worried that they don't want to get it. They straight up just don't want to get it. That's usually how all of them are. And then they also be like, well, if I get it, then that's not protecting everybody else. So it could definitely be interesting and things like that. My understanding is both the union and the league my understanding is both the union and the league intend to have an opt-out for players who have either a pre-existing condition, family with pre-existing condition, just general concerns over COVID-19, would not want to play the season, Persillo said on NFL Now Wednesday. Details still being worked out. It appears that the two sides are still negotiating to determine what the deadline for opting out will be. Persillo reports that a date is yet to be determined. NFL training camps are scheduled to begin on July 28th. The NFL reportedly plans to cut the preseason from our 4 to 2 weeks, but the NFLPA is pushing to eliminate the preseason entirely amid the COVID-19 concerns. What the NBA is doing. There was no details reported on what an opt-out would look like for players. NBA players are permitted to opt out without penalty beyond losing checks for games missed after July's 31st restart on Disney World bubble. A handful of NBA players have taken that option. With the COVID-19 pandemic worsening across the country and the nature of tackle football requiring close contact, it seems likely that some NFL players will take that option as well. Like I said, NFL golf, socially distant sports, NBA, NHL, NFL, not so much. So you might see way more players opt out. You might just see it. And you know, it stinks because, you know, it might happen. You know, it actually might hurt fantasy. What if this guy opts out and he's your first pick? You know, I just hope that, you know, sports get back to normal sometime, somewhere. I just hope this world gets back to normal soon. You know, you know, because I have no control over this. You know, this thing just does its own thing. So, you know, I have absolutely no control over this. I just don't. Let me find one more thing. So, yeah, you know, obviously, it's not a socially distant sport. It really isn't. Players, you are in close contact. Players are sweating. Players are just, you know, when you're sweating, you're not the cleanest thing in the world. You know, players, you know, mouth guards, all that stuff, like falling on the ground with, you know, it's interesting, and I don't know how they're going to be really able to do it. That's obviously all in the hands of the commissioner and the owners. Now, what I do notice is that players aren't complaining about the money. That is one thing the MLB struggled with. But, you know, I just don't know. Like, I really don't know if the NFL season, it almost seems like some players just, I don't think it's the fact that they don't want to play. It's just they're just worried. And I think that's with a lot of people. They're just worried. Like, and I wouldn't so much say, I mean, the virus is picking up in some areas, but I would say so much it is definitely declining a little bit. So I'll give you another article that I have up here. You know, it's just really crazy what everything is with everything happening around the world. It really is crazy about really is crazy with everything, you know, just going on and things like that. As the calendar year continues to inch closer to the NFL regular season, the league is still trying to figure out how to solve multiple problems related to the coronavirus pandemic. And one of the biggest issues right now is whether the players will be given the option of sitting out the season if they don't feel comfortable putting their health at risk. After several weeks of negotiating between the NFL and the NFLPA, it appears the two sides have come to an agreement, and MLB, tough to do that. An agreement on the idea of letting players opt out. According to NFL.com, the league and the union intend to give the players the option to sit out, which is potentially huge because it means that any player on any team could choose to skip the 2020 season without facing any sort of penalty. The opt-out could add an interesting twist to the season, especially if someone's starting quarterback decides not to play, without a doubt. What if Patrick Mahomes decided not to play? What if Tom Brady decides not to play? I'm sure he will, just because that could take a huge hit on the NFL if Tom Brady doesn't play. It's almost like, you got to admit, if Tom Brady doesn't play, that could take a huge hit. Like, the Buccaneers fans are like, oh, well, so much for this season. We thought we could win. We really did, but now Brady's out, and now who's our quarterback? The opt-out could add some, under the plan developed by the NFL and the NFLPA, there really wouldn't be any strict guidelines with the opt-out. Any player who has pre-existing condition would be allowed to sit out. Some coaches do. Some coaches, like even the NBA coaches, they said, some coaches do have the option. Some coaches have some health problems. Players who have family members with pre-existing conditions and would be allowed to sit out. Also, any player who has any concerns. So, pretty much, it's any player. Any player could opt out, is what this is trying to say. I don't get why they're like, oh, some players are pre-existing, some family members with pre-existing. Now, all of a sudden, some players, or players with just concerns. It's every player, okay? It's every player. Also, any player who has the concerns about playing during a pandemic would be also allowed to sit out, which would open the door for pretty much any player to sit out the season. Exactly. You could have said that really in the first place. Before the opt-out goes into effect, several things still have to be figured out. One big one is when players would have to opt out. According to NFL.com, GMs around the league were told this week that the opt-out will come with a hard deadline. Although the date for that deadline hasn't been set yet, any player who wants to sit out 2020 would have to declare themselves out before the deadline. The other big question is how many teams will handle the contract of any player who decides to sit out. One option would be the contract basically stay with the same everything moving forward 1 year, but no decision has been made. I don't think they should get the money if they're not going to play. I don't know. The NFL and the NFLPA are also currently negotiating the protocols that players will have to follow at training camp and during the preseason, and you can read more about this by clicking here. It's a link. I'm not going to click there. One big thing the NFLPA is hoping to get this is the cancellation of the entire preseason. As for other coronavirus-related moves, the NFL has announced several changes. Several changes over the past few weeks regarding 2020 season. The biggest move was the cancellation of the cancellation. The biggest move was the cancellation of half the preseason. As for the regular season, the league is still reportedly optimistic that the 2020 season will be able to start on time, despite the recent rash of new COVID-19 cases around the country. From the fans' perspective, things will also have much different look. For one, stadiums won't be filled to the capacity. The top 6-8 rows of every stadium will be blocked off with a tarp, and some teams like the Ravens have already announced that their stadium will be limited to 14,000 fans. The league is also considering the possibility of requiring the fans to sign a waiver if they want to attend a game. It's like a liability waiver. It's probably going to be something like how if you had this, and this, cough, whatever, in the past couple of days. And if you did, you're not allowed. One thing about those, I could picture a football fan just wanting to go to a game so badly. You want to go into a game so badly that they just sign the waiver and you're like, no, I don't have any cases, and they really do. I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm kind of optimistic in a way. I'm also kind of in the way really what's gonna happen. I don't really know what this whole virus is gonna do in the next 2 months. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what's really gonna happen. I don't know if the NFL is going to play. I think it will play. I don't know if it's going to be played September 13th. I don't know if it's going to start. I don't know if it's going to be starting. I don't know. I hopefully it does. Hopefully you might just not see all these players playing. I hope not any big huge name doesn't play because that could stink. I'm here to watch the Jets. I'm also here, on a Sunday night football game. I would like to see a big name player play. If a player like a Patrick Mahomes would to sit out, that way, then the Chiefs versus a Buccaneers matchup would be useless. I mean, you could still see Tom Brady, but who's the Chiefs quarterback? So, anyway, that's what I got for the NFL opt-out. So now the first known league, or the first known division for college football, the Ivy League scraps college football and fall sports for 2020 will evaluate feasibility of playing in spring. Wow. So the Ivy League, this came out yesterday, cancels sports and will reevaluate playing in the spring. So that's what they said. That's what it said in the article. That's what I heard. The Ivy League will be canceling. The first known college football league will be canceling their season. As everybody says, college football is kind of in doubt right now. They don't really know what's going to happen. College football season usually starts in late August. Usually players would be at camp right now. That's not the case. It's almost like college football is like what's going to happen with it? Really, what is going to happen with it? But the Ivy League is the first league to say, Big X. I would imagine some leagues will follow behind it. I would imagine so. I would imagine some will, but I'm not too sure all. And obviously, I will tell you what. There's a lot of divisions in college football. There's the FCS and the FBS. The Ivy League, if you don't know what it is, the Ivy League consists of Dartmouth, Brown, Princeton, Harvard, Penn, Yale. Is that it? Penn. So it's Dartmouth, Brown, Penn, Yale, Harvard, Princeton. That's 6. I think that's it, right? 6? I don't know. I think there's got to be 8, right? I know it's Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Penn, Dartmouth, Brown. There's got to be more. Maybe that is it. I don't know. Maybe it is it. But anyway, so those are some of the teams that you see in the Ivy League. Now, the Ivy League is not the Big Ten. The Ivy League is not the Pac-12, but this is still football. This is still a league saying we are done. We're not playing this season. So they said they will reevaluate things, fall sports, on January 1st. Now, this could take a big hit for the Ivy League, not just for college football, but this could take a huge hit for the Ivy League. Who knows what the Ivy League will ever be saying? They said they might play in the spring. Now, what happens? Do you then play next year in the fall? What happens here? They said they might play in the spring. I'm not sure really what's all going to happen. I would imagine that if they play in the spring, they should just try to start it up on time next year. Now, the Ivy League said that they're definitely not playing. So the Ivy League scraps college football and fall sports for 2020. Will evaluate feasibility of playing in spring. So the Ivy League has decided that fall sports, including college football, will not be played in its institutions in 2020. The conference announced Wednesday evening that it will not be possible for Ivy League teams to participate this fall, as athletics is expected to operate consistent with campus policies, including restrictions on student and staff travel, requirements for social distancing, limits on groups, gatherings, and regulations for visitors to campus. The significant move comes as more questions and concerns arise about the feasibility of playing the 2020 college football season amid the coronavirus pandemic. The time is running out for the FBS season to start on time, which is leading many to wonder whether it will ultimately be moved a few months to the spring of 2020. They said like April something, because they can't not play a season this year. All the money they would lose, they said college football would never be the same. So they have to play a season, whether it's now, whether it's spring, whether it's whatever. They have to find a way to play the season before they play next year. As to whether the Ivy League would consider playing football or its other fall sports this spring, and no notion considered undesirably out of the Power 5 conferences, as the sport weighs contingency plans, no decision has been made at this time. A decision on the remaining winter and spring sports competitions calendar, and on whether fall sport competition would be feasible in the spring will be determined at a later date, the Ivy League said in a release. There are also financial considerations to take into account for the Ivy League. The conference loses more money on football than any other sport. Football hasn't been decided yet if it would be moved to the spring, but logistically, I don't know how that would work. An Ivy League source told CBS Sports, Matt Norlander, you can't move all the sports to the spring. The logistics don't work. The soccer field is the lacrosse field. The scheduling would be a nightmare. The Ivy League will allow athletes to practice and train as long as they are within each institution's health and safety guideline. It announced that the athletes will. It also announced that the athletes will not utilize a season of NCAA eligibility in the fall. Basketball, the Ivy League, real money maker. It is its only profitable athletic venture. The basketball season is unlikely to start on time, which could eliminate most, if not all, of its non-conference games. Ivy League programs bring in anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000 annually in guarantees from non-conference games, money that may be gone for the 2020-2021 season. If things don't get better, we're not even going to play basketball, the source said. Decision makers are holding out hope we can play basketball. The Ivy League becomes the first Division I conference to make such a sweeping change. There has been cancellations in college football lower ranks, including Division II program Morehouse College and at least 3 Division III schools, but nothing quite like this. The Ivy League was also the first conference to cancel its tournament on March 10th, After initial blowback for supposedly overreacting, the league saw other conferences quickly follow suit once the gravity of the COVID-19 outbreak became clear. The resistance of moving the FBS season to the spring, with doing so being called, among others, a last resort by Penn State Athletic Director Sandy Barbour, asked 10 different athletic directors, university presidents, and conference commissioners about the most possibility. You'll likely get a variety of answers. The NCAA approved the preseason calendar is set to begin in a matter of weeks, and camp is scheduled to start back up. However, multiple programs, including Houston, Kansas State, and Kansas, have already been forced to suspend voluntary workout because of the COVID-19 spikes among athletes. Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott said of the upcoming season, unless we see a change in the trajectory of the spread of the virus and its impact pretty quickly, I think the situation a lot more perilous than it was a few weeks ago. The spike in COVID-19 cases since June casts more doubt that the upcoming college football season will be played as normal. What that season looks like is still to be determined, though we could have much clearer idea in the coming weeks. That is all we have for that article. Like I said, they're also young athletes. They want to make sure every athlete they want to make sure is at the top of the mind, right? Even with the MLB, they said the health of our athletes is at the top of our mind. It is not the game. It is not all that. Keeping the athletes, keeping our players safe is at the top of everything. It's up here. Playing, is right here, making sure you play and stuff is all good, but the health of the players is at the top of their priority. They want to make sure all the players are safe, especially young players, like in college, especially when you're in college. That's the last thing you need, is a player to be really struggling with the virus in college. So this stinks. I know it's not very good. The Ivy League is one league, and you saw how everybody reacted to the Ivy League canceling in college basketball. All the other divisions, all the other leagues canceled. They said, nope, we're not playing. Then, now, the Ivy League cancels. It's almost like it's the same thing. So the Ivy League canceled their college basketball tournaments. Then everybody else canceled. Now the Ivy League canceled the football season. Now are other divisions going to come back with it? I don't really know. Like I said, they hope that they can get a college basketball season in. I don't know if they're definitely not a college football season. It's going to be very interesting. It will be very interesting. These next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting to see really what happens in college football, because the season starts soon, and it's almost like it's almost like you haven't heard nothing with college basketball. Or college football. You've heard nothing about it. You haven't heard this team showing up to camp. You haven't heard this team. You've only heard Kansas, and Kansas State has said no, and Houston are going to be paused because players got the virus. Alabama players got it. There's been a couple players around the whole college football got it. I think they're all okay. There's been no reported bad things. Hopefully they're all okay. I think they all are all okay. That was about a month ago. But the big colleges like Clemson, Alabama, if they don't play and these other schools play, you might see still a drop a little bit. It's going to be hard. It really will be hard to play college football season. It's going to be hard to play an NFL season too, because first off, no socially distance on the sidelines. It's a very physical sport. It's one thing in baseball. It's one thing in baseball where at least you're socially distant, and at least, you're not really close to players. At least you're not tackling each other. At least you're not both, guarding each other, just putting your hands all over each other. That's in basketball, pushing against each other on the boards, Football is just going to be it's going to be hard. Football is going to be hard to play. I think they can make it happen. I really do. I believe in the NFL and I believe in college football. But I just, with how the virus is doing, I just don't know if it's going to be possible. You already saw some of these other leagues, they barely played and they already have cases. Football, it's so physical, and you might not even barely play at all. You might not play at all, and you might just get cases from whether it's the weight room, all that stuff. It's just going to be hard. It's just really going to be hard to get sports back. It really is. And the NFL and the MLB already has positive cases, but like I said, you should not worry about that. That's 66 out of 3,740 personnel and players they've tested. That's not even like one person each team, so don't really be worried about that. Obviously from what I've heard, no other Yankees have gotten the virus besides LeMahieu and Sessa, so that's good. Obviously, that goes to show you that they were following the protocols, and obviously nobody else got it, so that goes to show you they were making sure they were social distancing. They were, obviously following all the protocols and things like that. Coaches wear masks, all that stuff. Obviously, that goes to show you because nobody else, from what I've heard, they got it. Although they did say do not tell who gets it when they test. Obviously, they said LeMahieu and Sessa got it. That's because this was before they all got all the other positive tests, and I'm assuming they might have had symptoms and actually went and got checked. But yeah, like I said, I just hope sports get back up. I know NBA is a little iffy. NBA is, the NBA is going to be interesting. MLB really looks like it's in a good position right now, except those 66 positive cases. Overall, MLB looks like they're maintaining, the protocols. They looks like they're in a good position right now. NHL shut down their training camps. It's almost like they should just it's almost like they're just, they're just back in another hole. Then you got the NFL opting out. Each sport is almost doing the same thing. College football says no. Ivy League says they're not playing. NFL says we're not going to play. Where some players don't have the choice not to play, they might opt out. So things are all starting to really, in the next couple of weeks, will be big couple of weeks coming up. I'm assuming I'm going to have a lot of football news coming up and a lot of baseball news. That's probably a lot. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of football and baseball news coming up because I'm assuming college football, there might be some other leagues cancel. I'm assuming NFL, more about this opt-out thing will be coming up. The next couple of weeks will be big tellers, in my opinion, with this whole, if there will be any football season at any level, college, D1, D2, D3, or NFL. It's going to be very interesting. I really do believe that it can get very interesting. As a matter of fact, I don't, maybe they will just be, I don't think they'll do a bubble. I think the NFL is trying their best to really just play. They're trying their best. I think they're just hoping that they can just get a season because they know, people want they know a lot of people really want to see football, So anyway, so that's what I got for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Another hour podcast. I'll be back at it tomorrow to finish out the podcast for the week, which is obviously I do it Monday through Friday, so tomorrow will be the final podcast of the week. Anyway, that's what I got for the podcast today. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.